Tonight, we have a story about Daniel Edwards, a man who, despite his staggering success, faced rejection just like any of us. But this is no ordinary rejection. Daniel Edwards was not just any man, he was the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar empire. And when he was turned away at a luxury restaurant, it wasn't just a minor inconvenience. It was a moment that would set in motion a chain of events that would redefine his career, and perhaps even the way you view success. This is a story of humility, power, and the quiet strength of an individual who refuses to let others define his worth. But more importantly, it's about how one phone call could turn an entire situation upside down, creating opportunities from what appeared to be a simple mistake. Daniel Edwards grew up in a small, unassuming town, far from the glitz and glam of luxury. His childhood wasn't marked by designer clothes or private tutors. It was shaped by hard work, resilience, and the belief that anything was possible if you were willing to fight for it. His family wasn't wealthy, but they were proud. They believed in the value of integrity and, above all, in grit. He wasn't born into a privileged world. Daniel didn't attend Ivy League schools or grow up surrounded by influential mentors. His journey started in a modest garage where, at just 16 years old, he taught himself to code. It was there, in the silence of that small space, that he began to dream of a world he could shape, of a business he could build. At first, the journey was hard, really hard. Every setback, every failure, every moment when the world told him he wasn't good enough, it only made Daniel more determined. He worked odd jobs to fund his dreams, staying up late into the night, learning and coding until his fingers bled, until the weight of exhaustion felt like a badge of honor. But it was that unwavering belief in his potential that eventually paid off. Daniel's first startup was small, just a handful of employees. But the tech product he created, the one that started it all, caught the attention of investors. And that was the turning point. From that moment forward, there was no looking back. Daniel Edwards was no longer a dreamer in a garage. He was the CEO of a rapidly growing empire. It was a typical Friday evening when Daniel decided to take a break. The pressures of running a billion-dollar enterprise were always looming over him. So this night, he wanted nothing more than to enjoy a simple dinner at the Lux Bistro, a restaurant known for its exclusive ambiance and a clientele of only the elite. With his company flourishing, Daniel's wealth was evident to anyone who took the time to notice. Yet, he had never been one to flaunt it. His wardrobe consisted of modest attire. He didn't need the designer suits or flashy accessories to prove his worth. His quiet confidence spoke volumes more than any label ever could. But as Daniel approached the door of the restaurant, something unexpected happened. The hostess, barely glancing at Daniel before her gaze shifted toward the other patrons, immediately assumed he wasn't the right type of guest. She didn't even ask for his reservation. Instead, she took one look at his casual attire, well-fitted, yet humble, and without hesitation, made a snap judgment. "Sorry, sir, we have a strict dress code. You'll have to leave." Daniel stood there for a brief moment, taken aback. The audacity of it. The arrogance. How could she not recognize him? But Daniel wasn't the kind of man to react impulsively. He didn't raise his voice or make a scene. He simply nodded, smiled, and walked away. His heart didn't race, but his mind began to work. What had just happened wasn't about the restaurant. It was about the world's tendency to judge based on appearances. The very thing he had fought against his entire life. As Daniel walked away from the Lux Bistro, he did something that no one would expect. He didn't reach for his lawyer. He didn't demand a refund. Instead, he took out his phone and made a single call. A call to a man who had the kind of power that could flip the script in an instant. On the other end of the line was John Montgomery, a man who, like Daniel, knew the value of connections. Montgomery was a titan in his own right, a billionaire businessman whose network spanned multiple industries, including hospitality, tech, and real estate. He and Daniel had known each other for years, often sharing advice and strategies on business and life. John, you won't believe this, but I just got turned away at the Lux Bistro. I was treated like a nobody based on my appearance. Can you believe that? Wait, what? They did what? No way, Daniel. This is absurd. I'm going to take care of it right now. Don't move. Within seconds, John Montgomery's influence kicked into high gear. He made a single call to the restaurant's upper management, informing them of their grave mistake. What the staff didn't realize was that they had just made one of the biggest errors of their careers. Daniel Edwards wasn't a nobody. He wasn't someone you turned away without consequences. He was someone whose business decisions had the power to reshape industries. Daniel didn't need to say anything. He knew that the true power of influence wasn't in shouting or demanding. It was in letting the world come to you. As he stood outside, quietly waiting, the entire mood of the restaurant changed. The hostess, once dismissive, now looked frazzled. The manager, who had no idea who Daniel really was scrambling to make things right. In just moments, the entire place was turned upside down. Restaurant manager, voiceover, nervous, and apologetic. Mr. Edwards, we are so sorry for the inconvenience. We had no idea who you were. Please, come in. We've prepared a special table for you, and everything tonight will be on the house. Daniel smiled, but there was no malice in his expression. Just quiet understanding. As he entered the restaurant, the manager's words felt hollow. Apologies couldn't undo the damage done. But Daniel wasn't looking for retribution. He had a far greater purpose in mind. As the night unfolded, the apologies continued. The manager, the staff, the owner, they all made sure Daniel knew how sorry they were. But Daniel didn't want empty words. He didn't want flattery. What he wanted was respect. Respect not only for who he was, but for what he had achieved. And by the end of the evening, it wasn't just an apology they were offering. It was an opportunity. By the time dinner was over, the owner of the Lux Bistro had extended an olive branch that would forever change the course of the restaurant's future. They offered Daniel a partnership, exclusive deals that would bring the restaurant more business than it had ever seen before. Daniel didn't need to demand a single thing. The lesson he taught wasn't about power, money, or revenge. It was about the quiet strength of confidence, about the unshakable belief in one's worth. That night, Daniel Edwards didn't just walk out of the Lux Bistro with a business deal. He walked out with the kind of respect that no amount of money could ever buy.